Young people seemingly not wanting to be left behind where some of these conversations are held. Well, we find them here at the Africa Critical Minerals Summit. They're taking part, and most of them just looking at the future here where these minerals are concerned, but also the high-level conversations in terms of the lessons that are being learned. We know very well that Mozambique is here. We know very well that the DRC is here. South Africa is here. The African Union as well is here. It's all about just this high-level conversations around minerals, beneficiation just coming under the spotlight, the economies under the spotlight, and really just threshing out of these periodic table of elements. I'm going to bring Khonsi into the conversation with us here where we're looking at this, and really it's all about the periodic table of elements. I had to remind myself and go back there as to these critical minerals, and we hear that really the future is there when you look at the green economy, what we're aiming to go towards, but also ensuring that we get the most and the best out of these minerals, because for the longest of time we've held that most of these countries on the continent and those that are here have not capitalized and gotten the best out of these minerals. As young people, we find you here. Welcome to the SABC. Give us a sense of how important is it that you're not left behind where these conversations are concerned.
No, thank you very much for the time. Greetings to everyone. It is very important that we recognize the value of African critical minerals as far as beneficiation is concerned. I mean, Africa is the most important and mineral-rich continent in the world. So as far as young people are concerned, is that they must take place in the beneficiation space. They must actually understand, number one, the value of Africa in the global mineral output, critical mineral output, and within the value chain and the beneficiation. So platforms such as this are very much important because they bring different stakeholders to the ground and to ensure that those stakeholders get to intermingle and connect and ensure that the beneficiation benefits everyone involved within the mineral value chain in Africa.
How's the industry doing, the mining sector, when you look at really 30 years into democracy, and we're really taking stock as well in terms of how most of these mining companies have fared here on the ground in terms of some of these resources? Where are we? How are we faring? Are we at least getting the best out of this space, or we still have a long way to go?
We are at 30 years past democracy, and there have been strides, but there's still a long way to go. You look at the general GDP output of mining, it is one of the largest contributors to the GDP output. And we look at the unemployment of young people in particular. We see that the mining sector is not absorbing them enough, and they are not necessarily reaping the benefits that they would be reaping. So you look at the overall ownership and value chain, the mining charter and the ownership of mines, there's still a long way to go, but we are optimistic as young people. We're optimistic about the direction. We're optimistic about the amendments that the minister is implementing. We are very much optimistic about the next chapter. We're optimistic about the NDP 2030, and we are seeing a much brighter future for young people. And we're hoping that as time goes on, young people are going to take their place, their rightful place in the mining ownership space and ensure that Africa comes on board, and ensuring that a general network which actually is in line with the AfCFTA and the AU actually gets to stem not only from South Africa but from the African perspective as a whole.
Yeah, just before we let you go, Khonsi, how do we resolve this issue of illegal mining? It's a hot topic as we speak right now, and you find that there are solutions that are sought. You hear that it's not just a South Africa problem. Mozambique has its own fair share of challenges. DRC also has its own challenges. From a young person's point of view, how do we resolve this one?
I mean, first you must understand whereby the issue of illegal mining is a matter of economic circumstances. So we need, number one, solutions that are economic based. Number two, we need to ensure that the regulations around the mineral sector are strong enough to support issues of mining rehabilitation, issues of ownership. The government and the IDC in particular can step in and ensure that young people are in the ownership and mining beneficiation chain, so that you can, if you unpack the economic circumstances around illegal mining, it's going to be very much easy to approach issues of illegal mining. Then you focus on the framework strengthening, then you go from the economic, and it's going to emancipate outward.